How's it going, everyone? This is Anthony Marro and Nick Marro here for Dine Sports, breaking down the big UFC 271 card this weekend between Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker, the rematch for the middleweight championship of the world. Here, of course, with Nick. Nick, how's it going tonight?
Good, man. Pretty good. Looking forward to this card. 15 fights, so it's a big one, a long one. Um, I know you're a huge Adesanya as well, boy. So this is a little more personal than usual for us, at least. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Really good card, top to bottom. Some interesting prospects. Some big fights. Not just the main event, but two fights down. I think it is Cannoneer against Brunson could be the next title challenger for the winner of Israel Adesanya against Rob Whittaker. So definitely a stack card. Looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, awesome card, top to bottom. Best pay per view so far we have laid out for this year. I would say, especially in the co-main event as well. Two big heavyweights, Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis. So it's going to be an awesome card, awesome night of fights. Now our full write-up, breaking down each fight, our official picks. Any bets we're taking, that is going to be on Dine Sports Press Box Saturday morning. Everyone watching can absolutely check that out for a full breakdown of every single fight on this card. But we're just going to go top to bottom for a bit here. Definitely break down the main card and touch on the other fights that we're excited for. So, Nick, I'll let you get started. Your thoughts. I know you have a feeling there could be an upset in the main event.
Yeah, and I need to preface this that I'm a little bit biased. Obviously, I've been a big fan of Whittaker's. I mean, the first time around, it was definitely a different fight. Whittaker was the champ. He was coming off, I think, 16 or 18-month layoff, something like that. He had hernia surgery. And just visibly, I'm really looking forward to the weigh-ins tomorrow because the first time around, Rob just did not look good, like completely sunken in face. So Izzy's bigger, and he's going to be bigger here. So it's important that Rob looks filled out and still makes weight without any issue. I don't doubt that he makes weight, but I want to see him look good on the scale. But all this being said, I mean, looking at the line now, I think when you sent him to me earlier in the week, Izzy was minus 250.
Right now we have a 280 price on Izzy. You could get Whittaker at 220 range right now.
Yeah, to me, that just feels wide. If I was handicapping this, I'd probably have Adesanya right around 200. I know what happened the first time around, but I think this is going to be a different fight because Whittaker really isn't the type to just get his chin checked like that. He was clearly overexerting himself, clearly putting himself in harm's way, really chasing Izzy down, trying to get him out of there fast. Like he wanted to run through him, and clearly that's not what you do against such a talented counter striker like Adesanya. I know this whole narrative going on this week about the blueprints already out there. We saw Jan Blachowicz hand Adesanya's first loss in professional MMA. Obviously, Blachowicz is much bigger than both of these guys because he was the champ at 205. But to me, what you take from that is that Izzy can be taken down. We also saw that in his last fight against Vettori. And I still hear no one talking about this, but Adesanya, as good as he is at switching stances, there were a lot of instances in that Blachowicz fight. Vettori didn't expose this at all. But in the Blachowicz fight, whenever he'd switch stances, he was throwing that jab out there. And Whittaker has a really snappy jab. I could see him maybe trying to execute a similar game plan. And I mean, Adesanya is the rightful favorite. I'm not trying to argue that here. I just think Whittaker is being disrespected. I think the timing of this is better for Whittaker. He's known this was coming. It's been a really long camp for both of these guys, but he's as healthy as he's ever been. He's looked as good as he has since before he won the title. I mean, he had those wars with Romero, but I'd argue this is the better Whittaker than when he was the champ. Great win against Gastelum where he mixed in his grappling. Great win over Cannoneer, a guy who's on this card who everyone kind of thought would take out Whittaker and then challenge for the title.
Good fight. Pick 'em fight. I mean, that was a pick 'em fight. And
yeah, no, it's true. It was a pick 'em fight, but I mean, like, if they fought on this card, Rob would be the 220. I'd definitely say. I mean, we did just see it, but yeah, I think this is the toughest challenge for Adesanya in the division. I don't think there's any question about that. And I don't know, man. I think I don't feel great about it. Like, I'm not super confident. I'm not telling everyone to rush to the window and bet Robert Whittaker, but I'm going to pick him here. I just have a feeling, and I know that I'm a little bit biased, but he can grapple. He has very good jiu-jitsu, better jiu-jitsu than Vittori. Vittori was able to take him down in almost every round. It's just Adesanya got right up. So if Whittaker can kind of use some positional grappling, not fall into Adesanya's traps, strike certainly, but I think grappling heavy is the game plan here, and I don't know that he'll be able to execute it, but I think it over plus 220 now, where we're seeing it. He's the value side, and I know you're going to argue me here, and I hate to be against Adesanya. Like, I picked him against Blachowicz, I pick him in all of his fights, but this just feels like the right time for Whittaker to maybe take advantage of a misstep, and then they'll have a trilogy.
No, I'm sorry. This feels like the right time to go to the window and bet Izzy, because we saw this fight already. You're paying a little extra now, versus when you did then, now knowing what the outcome is more than likely going to be, because Whittaker, at his core, he's a striker. And while it obviously isn't going to be smart to rush in and try and exchange with Izzy like you did the first time around, he's not going to be able to stand and beat him in any sort of technical kickboxing exchanges. So I really feel like he boils down to a couple combinations, probably added some new things on the feet for sure. But obviously the grappling is what is going to need to be a key factor in order to get this done. But Vittori really couldn't do it. 4 for 14 on his takedowns is not going to be enough if the fight is even going that long. And then obviously Whittaker is not the same size as Blachowicz, as you had stated. So I really think the entries are going to be few and far between. When he does get in deep on Izzy, I think Izzy's also developed a lot over the past 2 years. And, you see the work he's putting in with the grappling as well. I think he's going to be able to surprise a lot of people if it does end up going there. But I don't think it does. I think this is going to be all Izzy, like the first fight, way more technical on the feet, chopping apart Whittaker from the very beginning, just getting more strikes in because he is technically superior. And, with the size advantage as well, standing 4 inches taller. And I just think his knowledge of range is going to be the deciding factor once again. Because I would honestly take Whittaker over most guys in this division. You're right. His only losses are to the very best. No, it really is like, I think he is a level above
if
all
Izzy
the
wins
guys
here, he's not going to lose the belt in this division unless maybe like Kamaev moves up in a couple years. But like, I don't see anyone really right now inside the top 10 challenging Izzy other than Whittaker. And I don't know. I just feel like he's being a little disrespected. Obviously, when you have a rematch and you have that image in your mind, like it's tough to kind of see it going another way. But I don't know, not to make a very, I don't know, lame comparison, but like look at McGregor Poirier second time around. I mean, this is 3 years later. Like I said, I think Rob finally fits at 185. Like, he wasn't a big 185er that first time around, and now he is.
He used to fight at welterweight, and I mean, it was a light heavyweight needed, all that he could to take down Adesanya 3 times. I don't think a guy like Whittaker is going to be able to, because he also doesn't have that wrestling pedigree. And
I mean, he doesn't have a wrestling pedigree, but I'd say he's a similar level grappler to Blachowicz. Here's the other thing, though, that you don't seem to want to discuss is why was Blachowicz having so much success on the feet against Adesanya?
I would argue that he wasn't. I mean, he really didn't have any
outstruck him. He outvolumed him in almost every single round. I mean, I don't think Whittaker can do the same thing, but I think he can do something similar. And I mean, that first fight, to compare it to Blachowicz, I mean, it's a bit lazy of a comparison, but it's the only loss we've ever seen for Adesanya, so it's kind of hard not to go there. And I will say this too. I mean, Whittaker throws more volume. Adesanya is going to land the more meaningful strikes, but he's a counter striker by nature. I just don't see Rob rushing in as recklessly as he did the last time. The big cage always favors Adesanya, but I mean, it's worked well for Whittaker as well. I mean, that wide, like that front foot karate stance shrinks the target. Like, he knows who he's facing here, and like I said,
he's gonna get kicked in that stance, and it's gonna be, I think, with the developed tools of Adesanya, it's going to look similar.
It's tough to argue with you. Like, it's tough to argue with you because everything you're saying is true. Like, Adesanya is the better striker. He's the champ for a reason. I just don't think this is anything like the first fight. And if Izzy wins, which I can definitely see happening, I think I don't know. Like I almost feel like this goes to decision either way. Like, do you see Izzy inside the distance, and if so, what round?
Yeah, I think I am ultimately going to settle on a round three finish for Izzy, whether that be by knockout or by submission. If Rob is going to be shooting in there, as I know he has that game as well. But yeah, I just see whether it's Whittaker too early, um, taking his time and getting pieced up, or eventually falling behind and needing to catch up, putting himself in danger once again. So I do see the finish materializing, but it's not a bet you want to make with Adesanya. Honestly, like he's shown it in the past. He obviously can finish guys, but it's never one where you really want to be mad at the
Yeah,
end of the night when the
I
decision
mean,
comes up. Right.
right. I don't know, man. Like I said, yeah, I know there's some bias here, obviously, but I don't see anyone else like, and I don't even think Brunson, who's obviously a better wrestler, would have much of a chance against Izzy. Just like closing that distance with, because the striking's too far. The discrepancy is far too wide. Like with Rob, obviously Izzy's the better striker, but who else in that top 10 is even comparable? Like I'd say Rob is one of the best. I don't know. It's
I
going to
would
be a fun.
agree.
So do you agree with the line though? Like, were it open, sure, but what is it now? Like, I mean, uh,
I mean, I would still bet 280 on
I'm
Adesanya to
sure you
win
are too.
100.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be happy to take your action. We're
Well,
going
you
to
already
move
took
on right
some, so
now
all right.
to the co-main event. Me and Nick could go back and forth for hours on that main. One of us is going to be eating crow come
I mean,
Sunday, but
you're almost a minus
well,
300 favorite, so I mean,
yeah, yeah. Well,
I'm taking the value.
I like it. Well, let's see what side you are on for the co-main event then, as Derek Lewis is fighting Tai Tuivasa. Heavyweights here. Derek Lewis on minus 190 as it currently stands. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, honestly, I'm pretty confident in Lewis. Obviously, it's heavyweight, so you have to be kind of careful when putting a lot of money down. I don't know, crazy things happen for sure. But Lewis is the more technical striker. He's a counter striker. Ty's going to come forward. Ty's going to bring the fight to him. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't see Lewis making the same mistakes that we see Ty make. And obviously, Tuivasa is on a great streak right now. But he almost lost to Greg Hardy. Like that was a very ugly exchange. And if that's Derek Lewis in the pocket with him and not Greg Hardy, I think he hits the mat. The Sakai fight, I picked Sakai. I thought he'd be a little bit smarter. That didn't happen, but Sakai clearly won the first round. And this is not a fight I see going to the decision, but I see Derek as the more technical and just I don't know, just a better overall striker. There's some people out there saying they think Ty's going to shoot for takedowns. That seems like it'd be very stupid to me. I think he'd gas out very quickly. Even if he gets him down once, he's not going to stay there. Lewis, everyone's favorite defense of just stand right up. We've seen it time and time again. And even if Ty gets him down, he's not the type of grappler to really know how to control his weight in those positions. So yeah, I have Lewis. It's one of my more confident picks on the card. Where do you have the line at right now?
Yep. So again, Lewis is at a minus 190. I think that's right about where it should be. I mean,
Oh yeah, I
coming
bet
off the
him straight
dock,
at that.
coming off the Dawkins performance, obviously, Lewis bouncing back in a big way. Didn't look great against Cyril Gahn, but that was kind of to be expected for sure. When it comes to these other guys in the division, though, just coming up, kind of the more traditional like heavyweight brawlers. I think that Lewis is always going to be very live. And I mean, in a spot like this against Tuiv, also, just as you said, a guy that throws higher volume, a guy that's more susceptible to play right into Lewis's game where, this is fought in close. One of the guys lands and, you can trust the chin of Lewis quite a bit too. I mean, he lasted a while against Gahn. I think he's going to be able to, at least in a few exchanges, be sure he gets a tie before, he gets clipped himself. So I definitely will side with him here in Houston as well. I
Yeah,
think he's going to let his hands go. He's there in front of the home crowd. I think we're going to see a good version of Derek Lewis in this fight. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go the other way, but I mean, Derek Lewis in the under feels like the pick here.
yeah, and just one more thing. I mean, if there is a path for Ty, and I think there certainly is, it's to leg kick a lot. Like Lewis is going to stand straight up, kind of do his little duck in. Uh, Ty's been using a lot more leg kicks lately. If you can make Lewis uncomfortable that way, maybe it takes a little power off his strikes. And then he'll maybe have an opening of his own. But I mean, anytime with heavyweights, and we know Ty has the power to just put a guy out. So he's live, but Lewis is just a little bit better on the feet, and I really don't see either of these guys wanting to grapple much. Like, I don't know. It is Lewis in his hometown. I don't think he's going to be shooting for takedowns. And like I said, if Ty tries, he maybe gets one, but is he going to want to gas out by the end of the first? Not that Lewis is some cardio machine, but we've seen him go into 3 rounds and still carry that power. So I'm all over Lewis here. I think 190 is a good price. I think as we get closer to the fights, though, it probably continues to steam. So if you are on Lewis, I'd probably jump on now. One other thing I do want to say too, I'm guessing the knockout line is like what 170. Like it's not going to be far off. So I would just take him straight because we have seen occasionally 2 guys with power. They just look at each other a little bit too long, and maybe it goes to the cards. You don't want to miss out on that either. So I don't know. I think it's Lewis by knockout, but I wouldn't bet just for like 20 extra points of vig against the decision. So
Right. Agree with you on that. All right. So then coming up after, or prior to that, we have the middleweight title eliminator. Would you say?
Dana just
Here
said
the featured bout.
Yeah, Dana just said it's not a guarantee. And honestly, I heard someone bring up a good point today. We were talking like Brunson and maybe announced that retirement to get the title shot. Why is the UFC going to give him a title shot if he's just going to take the belt and go home?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know that it's definitely a title eliminator. I think if Cannoneer starches him, it's probably his turn next. But
yeah, well, I think it's going to be a good fight. I mean, we have Derek Brunson coming off an incredible win streak, really. Like, no one really thought at this stage in his career he was going to be getting by strikers like Darren Till, and it was like they were feeding him to guys like Edmund Shabazian. But Brunson just kept passing the test, and taking these guys down, grinding them out, being the more physical guy, being the harder hitter, and it's been working for him. Here in this spot as an underdog against Jared Cannonier, it's definitely, a sketchy spot against another high level guy and another guy who, similarly hits very hard coming down from, previous fights at light heavyweight and even heavyweight, is Jared Cannonier, who is similarly on a good streak as of late. The loss to Robert Whittaker, while it's not the best on paper, he actually showed his own pretty well early in that fight before, the more technical fighter pulled away. And I do think Cannoneer is going to be the more technical guy when things are standing. But, with Brunson's wrestling, I think he is going to have a pretty good shot in this spot to just get the takedown and continue fighting smart. I think the move to Stanford MMA really helped Brunson, like develop into, blonde Brunson we have now. And I think I'm going to be putting some money on him as the underdog in the spot. I think it's definitely a winnable fight, and I think just the streak he's on, he's proved me wrong again and again. That I think it's time to back him here.
yeah, I mean, I'll use this as an opportunity to tease our article because honestly, I'm not 100% decided here yet. I've gone back and forth on this fight. I want to spend more time just looking for instances of Cannoneer having to defend takedowns. He has a pretty good takedown defense. It's in the mid 60s to 70 range. Obviously, Brunson's plan is going to be to wrestle here. But the thing that concerns me about Brunson, we saw in his fight against Holland, we saw it against Till. There's those few moments in between his takedowns and these guys getting up where he gets rocked. And like he gets rocked in almost every single fight. And Cannoneer has more power than Till, more power than Holland, certainly more power than Shabazian. So if those situations present themselves again in this spot, I think he could have his lights turned off. So that's a very serious concern here. I think if it goes to a decision, it's most likely going to be Brunson. But I mean, yeah, man, just his striking defense isn't great. So he's going to have to be very careful on these takedown entries. It is the bigger cage, which probably favors Cannoneer as well. But at the same time, man, I faded Brunson, and I'm embarrassed by this. I faded him against Shabazian. Terrible decision.
Well, huge underdog there. Money came in on.
He was plus 300. I know.
Yeah.
But I guess odds aside, like I still feel terrible about that one. Faded him against Holland. I know you're a big Holland guy, but I bought too much into that hype. I mean, Brunson really sent them back down to 170. And then the Till fight, I mean, that was the one spot that I was pretty confident. And yeah, 3 in a row that I've got Brunson wrong. So I'm like, do I really want to fade him again here? I'm tempted. Like I said, this is pretty 50-50. So anyone watching, be sure to check out the article when we get it up Saturday morning.
Absolutely. And yeah, obviously with some of these fights as well, weigh-ins, lower weight classes are going to be a factor. It's always important to see these guys on the scale Friday morning. We're recording this Thursday night, so absolutely check that out on Saturday as it is published. But let's break down this fight now at bantamweight. Marcelo Rojo against Kyler Phillips, who is now a minus 400 favorite over the plus 300 you could get on the other side. Should be an interesting fight too. Kyler Phillips, obviously a big prospect. What are your thoughts on taking him at such a wide line?
I mean, I really don't like the line, honestly. Like 400 feels a little ridiculous. But I do like Phillips here to win. I think he's the more well-rounded game. He's definitely a bit more technical. I wouldn't say he's more technical on the feet, but he's much more creative. Like he's going to do more damage. He's going to be flashier. The judges are going to like that. There's a crowd there. Like there's a reason these guys are on the main card, and I don't know that it's Marcelo Rojo. What Rojo has shown us, especially in his last fight against Jourdain, is that he can take a lot of shots. Serious chin on this guy. Phillips is going to be throwing a lot of attacks. I think it's competitive early, but Phillips is going to start to pull ahead in that second round. And I think he maybe finishes him in the second round. The one concern I have with Phillips and why I wouldn't probably loop him into parlays as a minus 400 is that cardio. We saw against Paiva. I mean, he looked so good early and then just started to fade. But I mean, it was just so blatant that I don't see how he goes back to MMA Lab and they don't improve his cardio and improve his pacing and improve on this very blatant issue. Because before that, man, he was hot. He had a fight booked with the Sun Tzu, which means they're trying to build him. Now he's on this card. I don't see Rojo as a guy the UFC is trying to build. And sometimes those narratives tell you everything you need to know. I think Phillips is more marketable. They could throw him on O'Malley cards, and I don't know. Cannoneer's on here too, but I don't know. I just think the UFC wants to see Phillips win this fight. Again, the line's a little bit out of hand, but he's the clear pick here. I'd be curious on the inside the distance prop because we've seen Rojo finish a couple times. But yeah, I do like Phillips here to get it done.
I mean, if Rojo is a potent finisher himself, and it sounds like he's really gearing up to make this into like a brawl, a war here against a guy more technical like Phillips, I think that is going to be, the clearest path to victory for him. If it gets into a scrap, it's definitely got to be the second and third rounds where Rojo takes over if he's even going to have a chance. As Phillips is just going to be more technical, but a lot of that spinning stuff is overthrown a bit. Definitely tends to go very heavy very early in the fight. So obviously a guy I don't want a piece of at minus 400. I'm even tempted to sprinkle the other side if this does get to a decision. And how can we trust the Texas judges? But this is a fight I'm still undecided on at the moment. I just know Phillips is a guy still young, still not one I'm ready to trust, especially at a price tag like this. And then the opener for our main card is going to be Bobby Green against Nazareth Hackbrass. This is a fight taking place at lightweight between the Southpaw Nazareth and the Orthodox striker Bobby Green. Bobby Green, a minus 150 favorite. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great fight, and there's a reason it's opening the main card. It's because both of these guys like to stand and swing. Both technical strikers with very different styles. Nasrat, fairly conventional. Bobby Green, definitely a straight boxer, but he's that shoulder roll style, so his hands are constantly down. But we've seen Green, man, look really good. I know his last fight against Ally Akinta, I think I had him by decision and he won by knockout, so that was frustrating. But yeah, I mean, Green's a vet, but we've seen time and time again him get robbed by the judges. So I don't know. I like Green here. I'm not 100% decided. And the main reason for that is because he likes to put on a show. And Nazareth's very, very technical. He actually has the better striking defense at 71% compared to Green 62. They both throw over, they land over 5 significant strikes per minute, which tells you just how good this fight could be. And a bit surprisingly, Bobby Green's averaging more than a takedown per 15 minutes. So I don't know. I don't think either guy's really going to look to grapple much here. This is going to be a fight on the feet. Green is too cocky to think he's losing on the feet at any point. We saw that at times against Fiziev, obviously a much different matchup, but I don't know. I think this is a really close fight. I think Nazareth is a very technical striker. Green might edge him in that regard just because he has that veteran savvy, but I don't know, man. I don't see either fighter finishing it. I see it going to the scorecards. And yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I may just not bet either side here and just bet the decision prop if it's at a good price, but I don't
It's
know.
not.
It's not.
No, but Bobby Green
What's
by
it at?
decision is I'm not sure. I don't have it up right now. Definitely gonna be paying probably more than picking even the favorite side. This is originally supposed to be John Makdessi fighting Nazareth Hackbrass. I think that was a very favorable matchup that Ali was able to land for one of his clients, but now Bobby Green is going to produce a much tougher fight. Yeah, like you said, I think it is going to be primarily contested in the stand-up, and Bobby Green. I just trust his boxing. From what we've seen, it's always clean. He's durable. He's
He, you're
fought top
right.
level guys. No,
Yeah,
obviously there is some risk with backing him,
the
but
showboating, man. It's the showboating.
it's still a
He's
high volume of
screaming with his
strikes.
hands behind his back, and I don't know. We'll see.
High volume of strikes landed per minute. Higher accuracy by Nazareth by 6%. I think he's going to be ahead in most striking exchanges. And yeah, if this is going decision, it's always tough. I think he's definitely the lean though. He should be the one that gets his hand raised.
Yeah, he's my lean too, but it's not. It's one of the least confident picks I have on this card for sure.
Mm-hmm. We'll run through a couple of the fights prior. I don't know any points that you want to touch upon. The featured
Yeah,
prelim.
yeah. I mean, we could just go like quick on
Yeah.
each of them if you want. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Well, we could break down just leans if there's anything we want to throw in. I think I got Andre Arlovski as the favorite over Jared Vandera, similar -150 line. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about Arlovski's lack of volume, but just in terms of technical ability, he's leagues ahead of Vandera, in my opinion. I could see Vandera trying to grapple a little bit, but I don't think he has success. I'm with you. I like Arlovski a lot here.
All right. Then we have the retirement fight for Roxanne Matafari, her 50th professional MMA fight, taking on the undefeated prospect Casey O'Neill. Casey O'Neill at a -400. You got to figure she gets the job done here.
Yeah, I mean, I like her a lot, but I don't like the price. Roxy's always like a +400 or 250 or whatever it is. I've bet O'Neill in each of her last 3 matchups. These are the worst odds we've had her at, though, so it's kind of tough to chase. But yeah, I think she wins here. I think she's a decent parlay piece as well.
Yeah, talented everywhere, strong. I think with this being Roxy's last fight, we aren't going to get too much out of her. Next up, flyweights, Matt Schnell against Alex Perez. Another huge betting line. Alex Perez at -380, 390 right now. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Perez. We actually did tape and wrote these fights up a long time ago whenever this was initially scheduled. I think the one fear you have to have is not only the price on Perez, but also that we've seen him subbed a few times, and Schnell's jiu-jitsu is definitely his best aspect of his game, at least in a matchup like this. But yeah, I see Perez as just a class above. He obviously got a title fight, albeit on short notice, but I mean, he's a top 5 guy in this division. Schnell's top 15, but I don't know. I just think Perez is a little bit better everywhere. As long as he doesn't fall into some stupid submission, I think it's his fight to lose.
Yeah, and just another reason we aren't digging in is weigh-ins are going to be a huge factor. This fight specifically, this fight's fallen apart a couple times. In last December, both guys weighed in and were heavy, and then the fight was called off due to a medical issue for Matt Schnell. So definitely keep an eye on that. Alex Perez was only over by like a quarter pound, but definitely want to check them both out before throwing any money down here. Light heavyweight scrap between Maxine Grisham and William Knight. Pretty interesting one here. I'd love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, this is another one that I'm having trouble finalizing my pick. I'll probably watch some more film on this one tonight. I think Grisham's the better technical fighter. Obviously, Knight has that crazy counter power. He can put him out with one punch, but I don't know. I mean, Grisham was a former heavyweight. I think he's going to be bigger than some of the guys Knight's been beating lately. But at the same time, man, it's just tough to really trust Grisham. I don't know. He's had some good performances, some bad ones. Same could be said about Knight. This is, I wouldn't call it low level. Like, it's not the highest level though. I think both of these guys are a touch overrated. I think the value on the line right now might be on Knight, but my lean currently is Grisham. But this is another fight that people should check the article out on because I have more research to do for sure.
And I think Grisham is kind of sneaky good. I mean, he's a big guy for the division. Obviously, he's got the good kickboxing. You know, I'm actually going the other side though. I think Knight is going to be my pick. I've been riding him, you know, for a while now. Just the physical strength is a big thing. Obviously, that left hand he's landed in 2 straight fights now, putting guys down. And I don't know. I think he's definitely if he can make this kind of sloppy fighting close, landing close against Grisham, I think he's going to have a pretty good chance here. But definitely a tough one to pick. Then bantamweight Ronnie Lawrence is going to be fighting Mana Martinez here. I think this is a great fight. I mean, Ronnie Lawrence is a big time prospect. He had a fight on Contender Series prior to his last, where I think it was 12 takedowns he landed, or he went like 12 for 17. As you can see, the takedown average is listed at 10 every 15 minutes,
Yeah,
which is
that's what I was going to talk
obviously
about.
inflated. But yeah, I mean, you'd think it's going to be rinse repeat here against a striker primarily, a guy with a lot of power, but not necessarily someone I think is going to be able to last if this does get into second, third round with Ronnie just wearing on him. You feel the same?
Yeah, I feel the same. I think Martinez is a little overrated. He has power in his hands, but I don't know. It's a pretty simple game plan for Lawrence here. Just do that chain wrestling, rinse, repeat. Yeah, over 10 takedowns per 15 minutes in his 2 UFC fights, one being Contender Series. But that's the game plan here, and I think he's going to be able to do it. I don't know how many takedowns have been shot against him. I'd probably have to rewatch the Guinetti fight, but I'm seeing Martinez's takedown defense at 0%. I don't know if that's because no one's attempted any on him, but yeah, I mean, I just see Lawrence as a prospect the UFC wants to build. Scrapper. Like they don't always love to promote the grapplers, but I don't know. He kind of has that it factor. He's fun in interviews. I like the kid. But I'm taking Lawrence here for sure.
All right. Great. Another lightweight bout. Hanano Kano against Alexander Hernandez. Kind of a tough one. I've actually really found my side. I'm going with Moicano here. I think he is, you know, you look at the losses he has, it's against really high level fighters, whereas Hernandez is still, you know, rather young into this UFC run. And I don't think he's fought, you know, or shared the cage with guys quite on the same level. And then obviously the grappling, I think is going to be the deciding factor. If Moicano gets this to the ground, he is going to be superior there. And I think he could probably find a submission eventually as this fight wears on. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm probably taking Moicano here as well. I intend to watch a little more film on this, but he feels like the right pick. Early in Hernandez's career, his confidence was definitely like his greatest attribute. Knocked out Beneil Dariush somehow. Going into the Cowboy fight, he was way too cocky and he got starched. But I mean, I don't know. We're seeing that again this week. He's like pissed off. He's on the prelims. But dude, like you don't deserve some sort of main card slot off of wins over like Mike Breeden and
Not on
who
this
was it?
card.
Grootsmarker.
Yeah.
Like he talks such a big game, but like I don't know, man. Like I'm a little worried about Moicano's chin. But if you look at the guys he's been knocked out by, like none of them are really Fazayev, Korean Zombie, Aldo, Ortega caught him in a guillotine, but
Even those 4 names, it's like Alexander
yeah,
Hernandez
I mean
isn't
they're all
fighting
like
guys
top
like
5
that. Yeah,
guys right now.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'm on Moicano. I'm interested to keep an eye on this line movement. I kind of was hoping that there'd be more steam on Hernandez. Like as it pushes his minus 200, I'm not gonna really love him here, but I don't know. I like Moicano. I could see him getting him by submission or decision. And one big thing I do want to mention too is against Herbert, we did see him eat some really straight shots. So I don't know. I feel a little bit better about his chin than I think I've heard some other people this week. So yeah, I'm probably on Moicano here, but I'll do a little bit more digging just to be sure.
All right. Light heavyweight, Fabio Chiron is facing City Kickboxing's Carlos Ulberg, coming off his first professional MMA loss and a loss in his UFC debut against Kennedy and Chescu. You know, I think this is going to be a fight where Chiron absolutely needs to get it to the ground, or else the superior striker should have his way. And Ulrich really looked good in that debut until, he ran out of gas. He was landing a lot on the guard of his opponent and just, couldn't connect to find that finish. But I think a guy like Sharon on the feet really doesn't have a ton to offer. So if he keeps us standing, it should be his fight to lose.
Yeah, I think Sharon should switch to Sanford or one of the big camps. Really clear path for him here. I don't know that he can execute it though. Like he has to shoot for takedowns. He has to keep him grounded. I think he probably even scores a takedown or two, but I don't know that he has really the athleticism or just overall grappling ability to keep Ulbrich down. What's the price at again? Did you just say it? My
Yeah,
bad.
we got Sharon's at plus 200 right now. So Ulberg's now getting 250 range.
Oh,
Um,
250. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
love him at 250 just because he's pretty green still, honestly. Much better striker. I have him to win by KO, but it's not my most confident pick just because there is a hole in his game and it's probably the grappling. I just don't trust Sharon to really find the openings he needs for takedowns. Like his entries when you watch him aren't good. But yeah, I don't know. I'm taking Ulbrich here. It's not the most confident pick. I think he's a bit overrated.
all right. And then for Robert Whittaker, his teammate, Jacob Malkoon, fighting here in the UFC against AJ Dobson, a prospect we saw in Contender Series. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably taking Malkoun here. I think he can pretty much do exactly what he did against Al Hassan. Um, yeah, I mean, Dobson obviously has power early. Each of his last three wins have come by first round KO, but it's really against kind of mediocre competition. He came in at even money on Contender Series, looked pretty good. That was actually submission, but I think it was a club and sub. But yeah, Malkoun, he's another one of these guys, just like Lawrence. He's going to shoot for tons of takedowns. I think he finds them as long as he doesn't get clipped early like he did against Hawes. I think, I think he grinds him out with the grappling. I haven't seen anything in Dobson's grappling to suggest that he's going to be able to keep him off him.
And I mean, that is going to be the big deciding factor. I mean, Malkoun is a guy that what it really boils down to is the grappling. He's like a jiu-jitsu coach and just a jiu-jitsu practitioner in MMA at this point. His striking really isn't there. And we also saw his ability to eat a shot isn't that great. When in his debut, he starts in just under 20 seconds. I mean, he really wouldn't be in the UFC if not for his connection with Robert Whittaker. And with the volume that Dobson was able to throw in that Contender Series fight, I think a lot of his physical attributes definitely make him live to knock out Malkoun. But also just keeping him off of him. I think there is a chance that he's able to get the job done if this does get into the later rounds, if he does have to rely on his technical ability. Definitely the bigger guy, definitely the harder hitter, and probably going to be the side I go with here. This is a coin flip fight right now. So, the line's kind of been moving up and down all week, but even odds, I think Dobson is probably going to be where my money goes, but definitely not a fight I'm confident on. Definitely not one where you want to invest a lot in. I think you'd agree it's pretty low level.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then Bantamweights, this is the second fight on the card. It's going to be Sergey Morozov against Douglas Silva de Andrade, a veteran who's, fought a lot of guys against someone in Morozov who has looked a bit variable, but he's a minus 220 favorite here. You got any thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this line's a little too wide. I don't know. Andrade is tough, and you look at his losses: Leroy Murphy, who's undefeated; Peter Yan, who's the champ; Rob Font, who just went to war with Aldo. Even before that, like we're going back years and years, and his only other loss was Tukagov. Like he's only lost to really, really elite guys, and I don't think that Morozov is it. I think he's getting more hype on him because of Rachmanov right now, because they come from the same country and things like that. Morozov is good though. Like I don't know. It's just such a weird matchup. Like he looked great against Taha. He looked good against Umar. Before that, he had a really nice run in M1. So I don't know. I think Morozov is good, but do I think he's better than minus 200 good? I don't know. Against a vet like Andrade who only loses to the best of the best. I see this as a close fight. If it was like minus 140-ish, I'd be pretty happy and take Morozov, but tons of steam on him this week. I don't know. He's probably my play, but I don't like the price at all. And Andrade is definitely live here. I don't think Morozov is one of these super prospects that we're seeing come out of Europe constantly right now. It seems like I don't know that he falls in that category. But yeah, Andrade is getting up there in age, and I mean at these lower weight classes, that obviously plays a major factor in their abilities. So
yeah, and I mean, I think it's gonna look a lot like the Taha fight. I definitely would agree with you that the line probably isn't where it should be. But I mean, he's a very well-rounded guy. 3.8 takedown average per 15 minutes. I think he may even be initiating the grappling, and
oh yeah,
in the top positions here. I mean, Andrade really isn't going to have much of an answer. We saw him kind of dominated once he, against Peter Yan, overwhelmed over time with his back on the mat. So I definitely
don't compare Marro as
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just saying that the way to beat this guy is going to be pressuring and probably taking him down, which I think he likely winds up being successful. And then to open the card, a fight that you don't want to miss. It's going to be the debut of Blood Diamond against Jeremiah Wells. A really tough matchup for him in his debut. Also fighting out of the city kickboxing camp with champion Israel Adesanya and Carlos Olberg. What do you think about the underdog here? Plus 180 right now on Blood Diamond.
Yeah, I'm pretty torn, man. Like last week, if you remember, I was like toying with the idea of taking Chidi Njoku. Like I thought he's going to be the much more technical striker. He's going to have all that ability in the world. But against Burial, like I just didn't think he'd be able to execute that against a more well-rounded mixed martial artist. I feel similarly here. I think Wells is the better fighter, just like all around. But Blood Diamond, man, his kickboxing is definitely levels above on the feet. Wells has power, but he kind of just comes forward. Like I could see him getting caught early. But after that, I do think it's Wells' fight to kind of win or lose. As long as he executes a smart game plan, he should be able to just ground. I don't know how to pronounce this right. Mathetha, is that it?
Blood Diamond.
I'm calling him Blood Diamond all week, but yeah, what I'm reading right now is Mathetha. But yeah, dude, I don't know. Wells is probably my pick. I don't know that he's ever secured a takedown in the UFC. I think he's only had one fight. So this is another one I need to spend a little more time on, honestly. I'm kind of torn, but I think you have a lean here. What are you thinking?
Blood Diamond. No, I mean the striking is incredible. I mean, 2 times King of the Cage champion, and he was mowing through guys going out to China, accruing kickboxing experience. I think at least 50, if not even more, on his professional kickboxing record, and definitely a guy who I think has all the talent you need to succeed in this level. If you could defend the takedown. So I think he either needs to land early here or they've really got to get him trained well at city kickboxing to, stuff shots and MMA wrestle, which is tough to, rely on, but also getting such a big plus money tag. I don't think it's the worst shot to take. And, I think I got to roll with the team at city kickboxing and start off the card right with a winner here. But definitely going to be a tough fight in his debut, but a winnable one for Blood Diamond.
For sure.
And we'll see what Nick lands on. But obviously, we want to thank everyone who did tune in for this card breakdown of UFC 271. It should be a really fun night of fights. I think the championship bout at the top for the middleweight title is going to be a very competitive one. But I have Ann still. Israel Adesanya for champion. Nick, I know you think differently. But it's great breaking down the card. And
no, I'm looking forward to it, man. And like I said, I mean, there's definitely a little bit of bias here. And I like Izzy, don't get me wrong. I just feel like it's Rob's time to get it back. And if he's going to do it, if anyone's going to take Izzy out, it's here. And I don't know. It just feels like the planets are aligned for an upset. But we'll see.
Well, I mean, we are both set on the main event. But be sure to check out our article on Dine Sports Press Box this Saturday, breaking down every fight even more in detail with our official picks for everyone. We'll sign off for now. But Nick, thank you again breaking down this card with me. And let's go. Should be some good fights this weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.